I'm just going to start straight away. Would you like to be more confident? That's the title of an email I sent to my list a couple of days ago. And I just wanted to come live a couple of times and actually share. Oh, hi, Marita. Someone can see me. That's great. So that's actually that's good news. So what you like to have more confidence was that title of an email that I sent out to my list a couple of days ago. And I just realized that there's so much you can put in an email or in a short video clip on Instagram, but sometimes it's just nice to get online and talk about it 10, 12 minutes and just give it a bit of feeling, give it a bit of juice, so to say, the secret sauce, so people actually get what I'm talking about. Although I believe these emails can be quite helpful. I'm following a lot of email lists myself, and the people who work with me and know my work know that I always say I like working from two sides, and confidence is such a huge issue in the performance industry. It's a huge issue in the sports industry. I work a lot with athletes. I used to be a stage performer myself for well over 30 years. But even with the business people, the CEOs I'm working with, you'd be surprised that confidence is usually a topic that so many of us are dealing with on one level or another. And one thing that I often noticed in my past as well, now I know I have a few hacks to actually get out of that quickly. But with most of my clients is you work through everything, you work on their triggers, and you release what you need to release in order for them to move on to the next level, so they have more confidence, and then they step up and they want to do that one thing that A had planned to do, sometimes as simple as picking up the phone, and they can't move. That is why I always say I like working from two sides, because we want to release the triggers. So intrinsically, your belief system starts changing. And the more we release those triggers, the less they flare up, the less you feel underconfident, the less you feel scared of moving forward. However, that's a process, and usually that process goes like this. So we make a big jump up, a big jump up, and then a couple of the demons start crawling up again, trying to pull you back to your belief system, to where you used to belong, and then it feels like you're going down. Excuse me, but then we're building up again. And that work is so powerful. However, we need tools in those situations when there might be a tiny crash, or you might be a footballer and you go out on the field and you feel great, and then suddenly one of those old triggers hits, and you can't say, "Oh, 60,000 people in the stadium. Can you just wait? I'm just going to give my coach a quick call," or something like this. You need tools in order to be able to cope now, before you go on stage, before you go into your match, before you go into your business meeting, before you make that phone call. And sometimes it's huge and sometimes it's something tiny. And for those moments, we need tools that get us our confidence back, tools that realign us and get us out of that funk, get us out of that state of being stuck. And so I've been in that place so many times, and one very simple tool, I've got my notes down here as always, just so I'm not going on for hours into another direction. One of the tools to quickly get you back into confidence is so simple, but I please want you to try this out, is to look back at everything that you have achieved and do that in writing. Make that a discipline. Because looking back at what we have achieved, the small things, the seemingly unnecessary things, and the huge things, but everything that we are proud of, that we are happy that we achieved, will put a fire under our ass and jolt us back into a more confident state. Because when we're in that loop, in that downward spiral of I can't do this, I'm not good enough, nobody wanted to see what I have to offer anyway, it gets darker and darker and darker. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. We're going down that rabbit hole, and we need to stop that. We need to break that state. And looking back and making a list of the things that we have achieved will instantly jolt you out of that and back onto those tracks. Now, when I have people actually write that down, and when I say, so what have you achieved in your life? Very often I get, well, there's nothing really, because we are so trained, so conditioned, so programmed to look at everything that is still broken, that needs fixing, that's wrong with us, the mistakes we made, and everything we haven't achieved yet. And I know many of you are nodding right now. We are trained to look at what is not working yet and where else we have to grow into. And we forget the amazing stuff we have done. And the moment we start listing that, something happens, something magical happens. It's literally like light bulbs are going on in your brain. It's like you reconnect with your heart, you reconnect with what you're possible to do. And if you like this, if something's happening within you, in you right now, just send me a little comment in here so I know I'm not completely speaking into this void. The moment you do this, and the moment you do this in writing, you remind yourself of who you are, who you truly are, without those crap stories. And I know many of you will now say, well, I can't remember anything. I haven't achieved anything. I have a normal job. I've just been taking care of my kids. How amazing is that? But if you're listening to this, you're doing pretty well, because you're listening to this at either on your computer or on your smartphone or on your tablet. You probably have a roof over your head, hopefully not under your head, a roof over your head. And so you have done many things right in your life. You probably managed to stay kind in a crazy time. You have maybe raised beautiful children. You were able to pay the rent for the last 10, 20 years. And if you weren't able to pay the rent in the last 20 years, you probably achieved something else. So these are the small things, but maybe you changed careers. Maybe you've done something successful before. Maybe you helped somebody. Now, this whole thing triggered off because someone asked me about my past careers, and I used to be a ballet dancer. Then I changed into acting. I changed into singing. And because that is just my normal way, and I know for many that's far out there, but that was just my path. And I sometimes completely forget about this. And so he asked me if he could see some videos. I probably just harassed to show him some videos, and I couldn't find them at first. Found them on one of my old computers, and I started looking at these videos, and I saw it was half bad. See, I'm even saying it was half bad. It wasn't. I'm not even saying it was good. I looked at it and I really enjoyed this. And what I saw was someone who back then didn't actually believe he could do it. But I did all those different things in my career. My journey of all the jobs I've done is quite colorful. I like change a lot. And suddenly I just had this newfound confidence coming up in me. And I see this every time I ask my clients to make a list and make it with me what they have achieved. And very often in the beginning, Petra saying I incarnated on Earth. That's an achievement. That is definitely an achievement. But very often, if I ask them, to make a list, to tell me those things, they can't, because again, we're not trained to celebrate what we're good at. We're not even trained to see what we're good at. I always say, we're in school and we take a test and we have 100 questions we should answer. And the test doesn't say, yeah, you did 98 right. You answered right. But it says you got 2 of these wrong. You go home with a feeling, well, I made 2 mistakes, rather than saying I did 98% of that test, pretty good. So they stare at me blankly and they go, well, I don't know what I've achieved. And so I start digging. And the moment we start digging, there is always something. And usually there is something big. Usually they're surprised how much they have achieved. No, it doesn't matter if they're 17, if they're 20-year-old students, or if they're 60 or 70, they have all achieved something in their lives. So I want to urge you to take pen and paper, go back through your life and do this now. Even if you say, well, I haven't achieved anything, and you dismiss it, that's just, he's making a lot of appearances this week. That's just the monkey on your shoulder, or the monkey on your back in English, you say. That's just the monkey on your back talking, trying to keep you where you are. But do it. Reconnect you with everything, the small, the little, the big things that you achieved in your life. And then go back to what you want to do. Remember how we started. You might be wanting to pick up that phone and plan a new meeting. You might be fearful of going onto that stage, or into an audition, or back on the football field, or back into the match, or whatever you're planning to do. And yes, it's totally normal to maybe be fearful, to maybe have the jitters, to maybe be a bit nervous. But reconnecting you with everything you have achieved and survived, connecting back to Petra saying, I incarnated on Earth and survived happily, most likely, will give you such an ease to go into that next meeting. It's a quick tip. It probably doesn't clear the problem at the root just immediately in that moment, but the more often you do, you probably don't have to do that. And if you do, give me a call and we have a look at those roots. Now, if you want to get on that email list that I wanted to talk about, just check it out in my profile. There's my website. There's a window popping up, or you see a little tab saying free stuff. And just get onto that email list. At the moment, you can choose between German and English. I will do those lives only in English for a while now, because I do send those emails, and I probably not always go live and not always here. If you enjoyed this, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I would really appreciate that. Let me know if there's anything you want to learn, anything you want me to talk about, and if you want me to come on again with another topic. If you didn't like it, hey, traffic is traffic. But no, if you didn't like it, maybe share it with me personally. But then let's be authentic. I would love to hear from you. I hope you have a beautiful weekend, and I see you later.